All the ideas from Csikszentmihalyi's book, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. This book reveals the secret to genuine engagement and joy in any activity, from work to daily routines. Csikszentmihalyi proves that happiness isn't a result of external circumstances, but a state of flow, where you're completely absorbed in the process, losing track of time. If you want to turn your life into a series of meaningful and inspiring moments, this book will be your guide. The idea of flow was born from observing artists who forgot to eat and sleep while working. Csikszentmihalyi's research lasted 25 years and covered thousands of people, from mountaineers to monks. Paradoxically, his discovery was that the harder the task, if it matches your skills, the more happiness it brings. The book has been translated into 30 languages, and the term flow has become part of the psychological lexicon. Part 1. Understanding Flow. Chapter 1. Happiness as Flow. Happiness is presented not as a final goal, but as a byproduct of complete immersion in an activity. When a person loses track of time and themselves in a favorite pursuit, they experience a state of flow, an optimal experience that provides deep satisfaction. Key idea: flow arises at the boundary between boredom and anxiety, when the complexity of the task perfectly matches the skill level. The practice of conscious activity selection helps prioritize activities that are likely to induce flow. Example: a musician playing a complex piece they have mastered becomes completely focused on the performance, forgetting everything else around them. Their skills and the complexity of the piece are in perfect balance. Chapter 2. The anatomy of the flow state. The state of flow has clear characteristics: complete concentration, a sense of control, an altered perception of time, and a loss of self-consciousness. These elements create a unique experience that people describe as being in the zone. Example: a programmer working on complex code suddenly realizes that several hours have passed and they felt neither hunger nor fatigue, having been completely engrossed in solving the problem. Chapter 3. Conditions for the emergence of flow. To enter a state of flow, several key conditions are necessary: clear goals, immediate feedback, and a balance between abilities and challenges. These elements create a structure in which an optimal experience can arise. The practice of setting micro goals breaks down large tasks into small stages with clear completion criteria. It's important to learn how to tune the difficulty, consciously choosing tasks that are challenging but not overwhelming. Example: a mountaineer carefully plans their route before an ascent, breaking it down into sections, and receives constant feedback from their body and equipment, allowing them to remain in a state of flow during the climb. Conclusion for part 1. The first part of the book reveals the fundamental principles of the flow state, from its nature to the specific conditions for its emergence. It becomes clear that this is not a random experience, but the result of a specific organization of activity and consciousness. The key lesson: happiness can be engineered by creating conditions for regularly entering a state of flow. This requires a conscious approach to choosing activities, a constant balancing act between skills and challenges, and the ability to structure activities in a way that provides clear goals and immediate feedback. Part 2. Flow in everyday life. Chapter 4. Work as flow. Work is often seen as an obligation, but it can become a source of deep satisfaction. Transforming work into flow requires rethinking tasks and finding challenges within them that match one's skills. The key is to transform routine into a series of small, achievable goals with clear criteria for success. It's important to find growth points, aspects of work where one can develop mastery. Example: an accountant who hates preparing reports begins to see them as puzzles, setting a goal to find more efficient methods for analyzing data each time. Gradually, a routine task transforms into an intellectual challenge. Chapter 5. Relationships and flow. Interpersonal communication becomes a flow experience when conversation turns into co-creation. This requires a shared goal, a balance between speaking and listening, and a gradual increase in topic complexity. Ideal relationships are those where partners mutually elevate the level of interaction. The main thing is to avoid both excessive predictability and complete uncertainty. Example, old friends, instead of reminiscing as usual, begin to discuss complex philosophical topics, taking turns developing each other's arguments. Such a dialogue can last for hours, creating a state of shared flow. Chapter 6, Solitude and Inner Order. The ability to find flow in solitude is a sign of psychological maturity. When external stimuli are absent, one can create flow through internal dialogue, creativity, or contemplation. It's important to transform solitude from a punishment into an opportunity. The key skill is to learn how to be interesting to oneself. Example, a retiree, accustomed to active socializing, learns to play a musical instrument. Daily practice becomes a source of flow, transforming forced solitude into a meaningful practice. Conclusion for part 2. The second part shows how the principles of flow work in the main areas of life. Work ceases to be a burden when elements of challenge are found within it. Communication transforms into an art of mutual development. Even solitude becomes a resource if filled with meaningful activity. What unites these areas is the principle of an active attitude, not waiting for ideal conditions, but consciously creating them, constantly balancing between skills and challenges. A life filled with flow requires not so much changing circumstances as changing one's perspective on familiar things. Part 3, Deeper Aspects of Flow. Chapter 7, Meaning through Flow. Flow experiences become a bridge between everyday life and existential meaning. When an activity completely absorbs attention, the question why disappears. The action itself becomes the answer. This state allows one to feel a sense of belonging to something greater than one's own self. It's important not just to achieve goals, but to find a source of continuous development in the process. Example, a gardener who has cared for plants for years begins to study them at a cellular level. A common hobby transforms into an endless field for research, where each day brings new discoveries. Chapter 8, Overcoming Obstacles to Flow. Life automation and digital distractions create barriers to deep engagement. The modern pace, with its multitasking, contradicts the conditions for flow, which require complete concentration. Restoring the ability to immerse oneself begins with consciously limiting stimuli. The key principle is to create protected time zones for deep work. Example, a writer suffering from writer's block starts working with paper and pen during dedicated hours without internet. Gradually, the ability for deep concentration returns. Chapter 9, Culture and Flow. Different societies create various opportunities for flow experiences. Traditional cultures often integrate flow into rituals and communal practices, while modern society emphasizes individual achievements. Collective forms of flow, from religious ceremonies to sporting events, possess a special power of unification. It's important to find a balance between the personal and the collective in the search for optimal experiences. Example, members of a folk choir describe a special state of unity when individual voices merge in harmony, creating a sense of belonging to something greater than themselves. Conclusion for part 3. The third part reveals the transformative potential of flow, from personal meaning to cultural dimensions. Flow ceases to be merely a psychological state, becoming a tool for overcoming the existential challenges of modernity. Obstacles, from digital distractions to cultural alienation, can be overcome through conscious cultivation of conditions for deep engagement. The true value of flow is manifested in its ability to connect the everyday with the transcendent, the personal with the collective, and action with meaning. Ultimately, the art of creating flow experiences turns out to be the art of a fulfilling life. This is such a wonderful book. I wrote down all the important points from this book, all the techniques and tools, and also made a step-by-step action plan based on the book. You can get all this in my private club, Place of Power. There you will find a ready-made detailed text analysis with similar lists for hundreds of best-selling self-help books. Also, only there can you get an exclusive analysis of the newest best-selling books that are currently at the top of Amazon's sales charts. Join via the link in the description and enjoy.